Okay, welcome to everybody online. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. We're going to begin the meeting momentarily, I think, online. Chairwoman Rosenworcel, have you joined us? There you are.
Here.
Okay, well, we're just going to start the very top of the meeting, and then we'll come back to you, but I just wanted to be sure that you were on there because we've had a few technical difficulties here. This is our, welcome everyone, online and in the room. This is our first meeting of the Nancy with the hybrid approach. So we've already encountered our first technical difficulties, and I apologize for that. We are starting the meeting now. We are also on the live stream, so we can go ahead and start. I just wanted to, in addition to welcoming everyone, just give you one other little bit of information for the people in the room. The restrooms are right out the door to the left and the right. We've had several questions, so if you need them, that's where you'll find them. So with that, I will hand it over to the Nancy Chairwoman to give her opening remarks, and then we will go to Chairwoman Rosenworcel.
Thank you very much, Christy. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Nancy meeting. This is our first in-person Nancy meeting in several years, and we are excited to see many of our council members here at the FCC headquarters in Washington, D.C. We have some interesting reports and presentations on today's agenda, and we'll get to them shortly. This meeting, and I just lost my place. This meeting will be hybrid, both in person here in the room and on Microsoft Teams for members who could not be here today. In addition, we welcome members of the public here in person and on live stream, available on the FCC's website and on YouTube. In the room, we ask members to raise their hands to be recognized to speak, and we will have an opportunity for public comments near the end of the meeting. For online viewers, we welcome members of the public watching via live stream and encourage you to submit any questions to the email address livequestions@fcc.gov. Your questions will be read during the public participation portion of the meeting. Before we begin, I will review some ground rules and best practices for council members to ensure we have a smooth and successful meeting. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. For those participating remotely, we have a few reminders. You may use the video function, but it is not required. If you have a question or would like to make a comment during designated discussion times, please use the raise hand feature. Everyone manages their own raise hand feature, so please unclick once no longer needed. When you are speaking, please identify yourself as we may not recognize your voice. And please remember to use mute when you are finished speaking. Does anyone have any questions before we proceed?
Nothing?
Okay. I am now pleased to welcome Jessica Rosenworcel, Chairwoman of the Federal Communications Commission, to make opening remarks. Chairwoman Rosenworcel, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. Chairwoman Karen Charles Peterson, who I last saw up in Boston with Mayor Wu. Also, good welcome to Vice Chairwoman Bridget Alexander White, and of course, all the other members of the Nancy, both those who are there in person and like me remotely today. So here I am remotely, but it is actually my first opportunity to welcome members of Nancy to our new headquarters building in Washington, D.C. I'm really happy that you're able to gather there. It's been too long, and it is a treat to know that at least some of you are gathered in person, but it's also terrific to know through the power of communications that all of us can also join virtually. So Nancy has been providing technical numbering expertise to the Federal Communications Commission for more than 25 years. It's pretty extraordinary. And during that quarter of a century, boy, the use of telephone numbers has changed more than just a little bit. But the one thing that remains the same is that those numbering resources are absolutely vital. They are an essential part of how people in this country stay connected. And the past few years have taught us all staying connected. It's just never been more important. And it's vital that people across this country have safe and ready access to communications that they can rely on. Numbering is really the foundation for that. And this is the last scheduled meeting of the council before the Nancy recharters in September. So I do want to officially thank you all for your service and your hard work over the past 2 years. I know that during the pandemic, it's not been easy, but you've engaged on some incredibly complex issues. You provided thoughtful recommendations to the commission, and you've done so under really extraordinary circumstances. So we really, really appreciate all your hard work and your important contributions. And I hope that many of you will be back in the new charter. And if you do come back, of course, we look forward to continuing to work with you. Now, the issues you have contributed towards over the past 2 years, I said they're really important because the pandemic, of course, has taught us all that staying connected is so vital for modern life. But I do really want to highlight the work you've done to help reducing unwanted calls and robotexts, these ways that people reach out using our numbering systems that advance fraud and are a serious irritant to households across the country. And as the FCC works to hold accountable those responsible for those unwanted calls and texts, I want you to know that the work of Nancy and the Traceback Consortium and carriers, it's all part of it. So when you go home and you try to explain to your friends and family what you're doing in an organization called Nancy, be sure to make them know that helping the agency address robocalls is part of it. And we look forward, of course, to hearing the reports on today's agenda, and want to really call out and thank the Numbering Administration Oversight Working Group for their hard work preparing for this meeting today. So thank you again for everything you do. And if there's anything we can do to support you at the FCCU in person or remotely, or with any other numbering issues you might find or have, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you all for your service. I'm grateful for it, and the American people are too.
Thank you, Chairwoman Rosenworcel. We appreciate you for taking time to join us this afternoon. Now for announcements. I want to mention Beth Shaw-Rays of Comcast, who has served both as Comcast's primary representative on the Nancy and who has co-chaired the CATA working group. Beth has now retired, but we want to recognize all the work Beth has done for both groups over the years and thank her especially for her dedicated work at the CATA working group. And as mentioned by Chairwoman Rosenworcel, this is our last meeting of the current charter of the Nancy. I want to thank everyone who has worked to make this charter a success, including our council members, members of the 2 working groups, and the FCC staff. It has been an honor serving as the Nancy chairwoman, and we look forward to continuing the important work of the Nancy under the new charter beginning in September. Now, I'll turn the meeting back over to DFO Christy Schumann, who will conduct the roll call. If the members have any new ethics disclosures to make to the group, please respond when called by your name to indicate that you are present, and then make the relevant disclosure at that time.
Okay, welcome everyone. In trying to get through our initial technical difficulties, I realized I neglected to introduce myself. So to those of you I don't know, I am Christy Schumann. I am the designated federal officer of the Nancy, and to my right is Rhonda Lien, who's the deputy DFO. I think many of you have interacted with all of us, but I just wanted to properly introduce us. Now for attendance and disclosures. Is Vice Chairwoman Bridget Alexander White on the Teams call?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you. 10X people?
John Nakamura, no disclosures.
Thank you. 800 Response Information Services?
Heather Barrows, no disclosures.
ACA Connects?
Brian Hurley, no disclosures.
Ad Hoc Telecommunications Users Committee?
Hi, Christy. This is Susan Gately for Ad Hoc No Disclosures.
Okay. Alliance for Telecommunications Industry Solutions?
Jackie Waldgemuth, no disclosures.
AT&T?
George Guerra, no disclosures.
Bandwidth?
Greg Rogers for Bandwidth. I will disclose that I'm on the board of directors at Encompass. I'm on the board of directors at SIP Forum. I'm on the STIGA as the Encompass representative. So I'll make those disclosures.
great, thank you. Great, thank you. Charter?
Hello, this is Glenn Klepper, and I am disclosing that I am NCPA's representative on the Secure Telephone Identity Governance Authority Board of Directors.
Comcast?
Hi, this is Beth O'Donnell. I also am disclosing that I am a Comcast representative on the Secure Telephone Identity Governance Authority Board of Directors.
Competitive Carriers Association?
Alexandra Mays, no disclosures.
CTIA?
Amy Bender, no disclosures.
Electronic Privacy Information Center?
This is Chris Rochella from Epic, no disclosures.
Google?
Hi, this is Craig Lennon from Google. I am disclosing that I am a representative also for Google as a member of the Somos Customer Advisory Board.
Okay, thank you. Encompass?
Hi, this is Chris Shipley from Encompass, no disclosures.
Intelliquent? Lumen?
Hi, this is Phil Lindsay. The disclosures I have are I am on the NAMP. I am STIGA member, board member. I am on the SIP Forum as a board member, and MPIF, Number Portability Industry Forum member, as well as a non-IP call authentication chair.
Maine Public Utilities Commission? National Association of Attorneys General?
Amanda Wentz, no disclosures.
National Association of State Utility Consumer Advocates?
Yes, Bob Nelson, no disclosures.
Nevada Public Utilities Commission? NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association?
Brian Ford, and I should disclose I'm an alternate on the STIGA board.
Peerless?
Pat Phipps, no disclosures.
Public Service Commission of the District of Columbia?
Lara Howley Walt, no disclosures.
SIP Forum?
Richard Shockey, I am the chairman of the board of the SIP Forum, no disclosures.
T-Mobile?
This is Rosemary Leist. I am a member of the Nampa LLC.
TDS Telecommunications?
Oh, this is Paul Magedlo, no disclosures.
Telnix?
David Kasem, alternate on the Nampa LLC.
US Telecom?
Josh Berkey, no disclosures.
Verizon?
Dana Crandall, no disclosures.
Vonage? West Virginia Public Service Commission?
Terry Blake, no disclosures.
iConnective?
Chris Drake, I disclose that I'm on the board of the Alliance for Telecommunications Industry Solutions and also on the advisory board of a cybersecurity startup and the Pace University cybersecurity education curriculum.
Somos?
Joel Bernstein, Somos, no disclosure.
Did I miss anyone or did anyone join late?
This is Kathy McMahon from iConnective, an alternate, and no disclosures.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes the roll call. I turn the meeting back to the chairwoman.
Thank you, Christy. For our first presentation, we'll hear from Brent Struthers, Director of the Secure Telephone Identified Governance Authority. Brent, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Are we on? Excellent. So exciting to be back here in person. And since the FCC chose a day to meet where I was coming to DC anyway, it's even more exciting. I'd like to thank Chair Charles and the Vice Chair for allowing the GA board to provide the update today. I have to say I am instinctively looking around to make sure there's no squirrels that my dogs will bark at, because that's been an issue for the past couple years. So No barking during today's presentation, I promise. Do we have the presentation up? Do we have the slides up? Can we go to slide 2, please? Perfect. Generally produce these tables that you see at the beginning of each month. So this one's a tad out of date because it was at the end of, it's the numbers as of the end of May. And we've had a lot of activity this month, believe it or not. All the providers, those small facilities-based providers that are coming in this month to try and meet the FCC update, they've kept the STIPA very busy signing people up. So at the end of May, you can see here we've got about 1,051 providers. I checked yesterday and we had 1,044 providers authorized, and that number is climbing quickly every day as people are coming in at the last minute to try and get authorized to implement Stir Shaken. So a lot of activity. On the authorization side. We've currently got 14 what we call STICAs, the certificate authorities, the certification authorities that sign the certificates to service providers that they use to sign the calls. That is a large number. We've approved recently CTIA, and I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. So if we can go to the, I'll ask if there's any questions, but if we can go to the next slide. And honestly, I looked at this the other day. I have no earthly idea why we have all this highlighting on this slide. I must have somehow fat-fingered this before I sent this over to the FCC, so ignore the highlighting, or, you know, it looks pretty, I guess. So we've got a lot of stuff going on the policy front as well. We've got, let's see, we've got the international stuff. Let's see, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let me go back to the CTI thing. We approved the CTI CPS, and the reason that's important, it's a little different than some of the other CAs have done. CTI specifically wanted to become a certification authority so that they could assign certificates to providers, so providers could sign something called rich call data extensions. So it's not necessarily directly for shaken extensions, those attestation levels that say, hey, this caller is who they say they are. It's about other data that goes with the call, like caller name, call logo, reason for call, stuff like that. Could be in a URL. So CTIs was a little bit different, so I just wanted to note that. We're going to talk about some of the policy changes we had to make to allow for that CTA CPS, the Certification Practice Statement, to be approved. So now I'm really truly on slide 3. And I'm going to go to the international stuff. So international international non-jurisdictional. So I think you all understand what international is. It's a governance authority for somebody like Canada, the CSTGA up in Canada that might do Stir Shaken up there. Non-jurisdictional is a little different. A non-jurisdictional would be a GA, a governance authority that's set up to allow certificates to be assigned to providers that are homed in a country that's not doing Stir Shaken. So anywhere but the US and Canada. So let's say some provider in France wants to sign calls and send them to Canada or the US and hopefully get them attested to and passed on with the attestation in the US or Canada. France isn't doing this yet. They're planning on it this year, but they're not doing Stir Shaken yet. So this non-jurisdictional governance authority could actually sign that service provider up, provide them a certificate so that they might be able to send the call with the certificate to the US or Canada. And if they had an agreement with the GA in the US or the GA in Canada, they could get their call attested to and, you know, and sent to the customer in the US with that attestation intact. So that's what we've been working on there. We created what we call trust criteria, which say, do we trust this governance authority, whether it's non-jurisdictional or whether it's jurisdictional and international governance authority? We created some criteria that the board will use to determine whether or not they trust the entities coming and saying, hey, we want to interoperate with you, governance authority in the US. You should trust us, allow our certificates to be taken from wherever we are to the US, and providers in the US that are doing Stir Shaken can accept those certificates. So you need to be able to trust us. So we have criteria where we check the policies of this governance authority that's non-jurisdictional or outside the U.S., and we determine whether or not we think we can trust them that they will keep our Stir Shaken framework safe from bad actors. So we have the trust criteria. We also have vetting criteria primarily for the non-jurisdictional governance authority. So if I have a governance authority that represents France or Ireland, I know they're working with the regulator in France or Ireland, we can probably trust them. But I have a non-jurisdictional, maybe it's a company that started up this non-jurisdictional governance authority and I've never heard of them. So we want to be able to vet that company to make sure that's a company that we as a governance authority can also trust. We don't want to let in service providers that we don't trust. We also don't want to let in governance authorities, as you can obviously imagine, that we don't trust. So we have vetting criteria to vet those non-jurisdictional governance authorities, should they ever come to us, and we can check them out before we approve them. So we've got the vetting criteria and the trust criteria done. We're still got some work to do there. There needs to be a party that we can use to vet parties that might come in a non-jurisdictional governance authority. So we're working on that. So there's still some work to do there, but the GA has done a lot of work this year on getting the vetting and the trust criteria in place. There's also something called CP version 1.4. That's our certificate policy version 1.4. It's 1.4 because it's the 4th version. I noted a little bit ago the CTIA, CPS with the rich call data stuff that was in it. The board, we just approved this new version of the CP 2 weeks ago, and it's just been published. The board considered the recognition of 3 separate extensions. So an extension is, it's information other than attestation that can be provided along with the call. So like I said, with rich call data, it could be name, it could be URL, it could be call reason, it could be a logo. There are other extensions, one called DIV, which stands for diversion, which could be a call forwarded call. So it comes to a provider from another provider and they want to send it on to a different number. There's one called RPH, which stands for Resource Priority Header, which is a priority given a call in the case of an emergency or national security event on the government system gets or something like that. So those calls should get priority, and you can sign an RPH header that says, hey, my call not only has the STIGA shaken certificate, and I give it A-level attestation, but this call should also get priority. So you can use your STI certificate to sign the RCD extensions, to sign the RPH extensions, to sign the DIV extensions. And if I haven't just done enough acronyms, there's probably going to be some more. So we've got that. That took quite a bit of work to revamp our CP, our certificate policy, and the revocation process, because we want to make sure that if somebody misuses their certificate for signing, let's say they decide to sign, Rich Shockey LLC on a call and put Rich's face on there and some logo, and it's not really Rich Shockey LLC. So they're signing a call, but it's a false rich call data. The data's not true. We want to be able to go to that provider and say, listen, we think you're doing this on purpose, and we'll pull your SPC token, meaning you can't get certificates because you're misusing your certificate to sign for false data. So we had to change the revocation process as well to allow for the board to consider not just false attestations, but false RCD data, maybe false DIV, false RPH data that's been signed using the STI certificate that is under the governance authorities framework. Hopefully that all makes sense. With the new certificate policy published, the certification authorities, all 14 of them, have 45 days to redo their certification practice statements, which means at the end of July, I'm going to get really busy. These are about 80-page documents that have a lot of detail, and I get the opportunity to review them first, and the board has to approve all of them. We do have a PKI expert on not on staff, but a contractor that we use to review these, so we have a real expert looking at them. But it's a lot of work that goes into reviewing all 14 of these to make sure that they meet the certificate policy. So again, we don't have CAs that are doing stuff wrong within our framework. We want to make sure everybody's doing stuff correctly. We're always trying to protect the framework. So we've got the funding part. The good news is that the PA has collected sufficient revenue this year to cover the cost of the shaken framework for the year. There is no bad news. We're working on our budget. We'll actually soon be working on the budget for 2024, and I suspect that with the number of providers that have come in this year, cost for each individual provider will probably go down again. So we'll see. We're working on that very soon. In terms of outreach, We just held our first external feedback forum on May 18th. For the first forum, we focused on reaching out to enterprises and associations that represent the enterprises, primarily because the enterprises, while they are very interested in Stir Shaken, they don't really have representation on the board except through their carrier partners. And so we wanted to hear directly from the enterprises what they thought was important about Stir Shaken, what they thought might be good for development in Stir Shaken. So we did hold that. We had a few enterprises on. They agreed that the first meeting was really an update on what the GA is doing. They would like to have some more so they could provide more feedback now that they know we're open for receiving feedback. We've always been open for receiving feedback. But now that they know there's a special forum where they can do it, they'd like to have some more of those forums scheduled. So we'll continue these external feedback forums 2-3 times a year to get feedback from some of these outside parties. So that's something the GA is doing to try and broaden the influence of folks, people that are interested in Stir Shaken. We want to make sure they get their interest heard at the GA board as well. I think that is all I have because the next slide just says questions. So traditionally, nobody has any questions. I saw Rich trying to raise his tent over there. Go ahead.
So Telmex is an interconnected VoIP provider. We have no TDM interconnects. And I recently checked how many calls we signed and how many signed calls we receive. Pleased to report, we sign 100% of the calls destined for US telephone numbers. But in spite of the fact that we only have IP interconnects, 75% of the calls that we receive remain unsigned. Have you been able to solicit data from service providers with respect to adoption? And ultimately, now that we're 2 years past the FCC's deadline for implementation of Stir Shaken, who is ultimately responsible for ensuring compliance?
Good question. I don't have data. The GA, as you can imagine, is not in the call path, so we don't see, as you would a service provider, see the actual signatures and how many calls come in signed versus not signed. All I see is the number of providers that have been authorized. I can tell you they've been authorized, I can tell you if they've been assigned a certificate, but I can't tell you if they're actually using their certificate. So no, I don't have the data on that. I think that would be something that the service providers would have versus the GA. And in terms of compliance with the FCC Stir Shaken deadline or Stir Shaken mandate, that would be the FCC. The GA makes sure that people are not misusing the certificates that are assigned to them by signing attestation levels that are false, and we're working on that enforcement this year, but we don't have any authority over compliance of the Stir Shaken mandate. So.
And is that work being carried out by any working group, CATA or otherwise, in order to determine the actual efficacy of the Stir Shaken mandate?
I do not know that. I don't have any insight into that.
Thank you, Brett.
Sorry.
Thank you, Brent. I have a quick question. Can we go to slide 6? I just had a question on slide 6. So you have, under the STIG authorization, 1,051 service providers.
Correct.
As of May, at the end of May. But then I thought you said, as of today, it was 1,044.
1,000. If I said 1,044, it's 1,144.
Okay.
I might have
Maybe
said the
I
wrong
misheard
number.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Back to you, Chair.
Mic is not on. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brent, for your presentation. Next, we'll hear a report from Teresa Patton, co-chair of the North American Portability Management LLC. Teresa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So since our last report, iConnective completed their 5th customer satisfaction survey. In the results, they received their highest score since taking over the LMPA contract. And survey commenters noted their appreciation for iConnective's knowledge and responsiveness, as well as their performance in industry forums and change management activities. Regarding contract amendments, Statement of Work 37 was approved and includes impact changes for 2 new error notifications. The first one is when an MPA NXX effective date is prior to January 1st, 2000. And the second new notification is when a service provider is being removed and has active ports in the MPAC. As far as MPAC activity and releases, the annual failover exercise was successfully completed in April, actually on April 2nd. And there have been 2 minor MPAC releases since the last meeting. 5.1.1.2 was implemented on April 30th and included a fix for the undue cancellation of a TN range. And 5.1.1.3 went in June 11th and included an enhancement for internal MPAC messages. The Contract Implementation Committee has approved 6 new PTRS users access to MPAC data, and the annual qualification process for PTRS users was completed in April as well. The Security Advisory Committee participated in several meetings with the FCC regarding MPAC security oversight, and a data center security tour has been scheduled for July, and federal partners have been invited to attend. And finally, the Nampa LLC is always seeking new member companies to join us. If you are interested, you can contact myself or my fellow co-chair, Deb Tucker with Verizon, and our information is on the last screen, or the last slide of our presentation. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Please.
Good afternoon, Teresa. John Nakamura, 10X People. For SOW 37, do you have an implementation date for that?
Oh, I did not note that. I can find out for you, or I connectives here. I don't know if they know off the top of their head. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Teresa,
Thank you.
very much. Next, we'll hear a report on the Numbering Administration Performance Review from Phil Lindsay, co-chair of the Numbering Administration Oversight Working Group. Phil, the meeting floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairwoman Charles. Again, my name is Philip Lindsay with Lumen. I am one of the chairs for the Numbering Administration Oversight Working Group, or the NAOWG. I share that role with Lara Walt from the DC Public Utilities Commission, as well as Karen Rippenkroger of T-Mobile. We also have special acknowledgement of our FCC liaisons, Bill Anderley and Rebecca Macaroni. Bill works as our representative for the Nampa, and Rebecca is our liaison for the R&D. The next slide. Our area of responsibility encompasses the contract oversight of the NAMPA, the North American Numbering Plan Administrator, as well as the Reassigned Numbers Database Administrator, and then the Billing and Collections Agent. In addition to that, we have tangential oversight of number portability, and we interface with the MPIF on that front. So on the next slide, we'll move into the purpose of this presentation, which is for the recommendations of our performance reviews of the NAMPA, as well as the RNDA and the BNC agent. On the next slide, we have a little bit of background on our performance review. We developed the evaluation consistent with the monthly deliverables matrix, and this is done on a monthly basis. Our performance ratings are based on a met and non-met type rating scheme. We scheduled conferences to gain industry consensus on rating and evaluation. Move to the next slide. We start with the NAMPA, the performance review. The NAOWG considered the following criteria, which is the monthly evaluation matrix, as I identified earlier, the 2022 team meeting materials from monthly calls, the Nancy reports on a monthly, from a monthly report basis, NAMPA, and includes NAMPA, PA, and PANI activity, and then our general observations of their performance, and then the interactions that the co-chairs have with the vendors. And on our next slide, so the recommendation is for the rating to be a MET rating. Those requirements were in order to be, the MET requirements in order to be considered successful. The performance was competent and reliable. Decisions and recommendations were within the requirements and expectations. And then to provide a little more detail on the next slide, Somos is the vendor that provides the Nampa function. And so Somos provided continued administration of the North American Numbering Plan and associated functions such as number pooling and P&E administration, as well as, of course, the 10,000 code administration. Somos allocated numbering resources to service providers associated with NAMPA's code administration, pooling administration, and P&E administration functions pursuant to the terms of the contract and industry guidelines. They provided monthly status reports associated with the effort to combine the multiple systems. So there's a CNAS system that's being developed that would combine the pooling and code administration functions. And then they provided the metrics containing the systems operation, forecasting, MPA relief, and number resource administration activity, including trouble tickets into the monthly reports, as I mentioned earlier. Somos provided quarterly self-assessments and prepared a detailed annual operations review as well. So, and then we can move on to the R&DA. The consideration reviewed and analyzed the following information. As you see here, the monthly, similar to the NAMPA, would be the monthly evaluation matrix, the team meeting materials, the FCC and Nancy reports, as well as the R&D administration for service providers and users. So with the R&D, you have two sides of that. You have the telephone numbers that get reported into the database, and then that data is then made available for queries by the calling party industry that would query those numbers to ensure or to establish the safe harbor for TCPA. And then the NAOWG's observations, and again, the co-chair's interaction with the vendor as well. So with that, we can move on to the recommendation, and the R&DA rating for 2022 was met, and is the recommendation of the NAOWG. And again, they met the requirements in order to be considered successful. Their performance was competent and reliable. Decisions and recommendations were within requirements and expectations. And with that, we move into kind of a little more detail around that regarding Somos's provide a continued administration of the FCC's reassigned numbers database pursuant to the terms of its contract. They've maintained service provider data upload and user query functionality. Somos provided the metrics containing data and query volumes associated with performance, including trouble ticket detail on their monthly reports. And then Somos provided quarterly self-assessment and prepared detailed annual operations review as well. So, and then finally, we move on to the BNC agent performance review. The NAOWG considered and reviewed analyzed the following data while compiling overall evaluation of the BNC agent, which is provided by Welch LLP. We relied upon the monthly deliverables matrix, overall score, the team meeting materials as well, the FCC Nancy reports, the customer service processes, the monitoring of receivables, the NAOWG's observations, and then the co-chair membership interaction with the BNC agent, and then in a separate presentation, the BNC agent also compiles the contribution factor and budget related to communications and the printed material associated with that we'll be reviewing a little bit later after we finish our performance review. So on the next slide, we have the BNC agent rating for 2022 was met and is what the NAOWG recommends. The BNC agent met the requirements in order to be considered successful. The performance was competent and reliable. Decisions and recommendations were within the requirements and expectations. And on the last slide here, we have the details of that review, which is they continued to collection of committed funds based on the reassigned numbers database development costs, in addition to the funds that support the North American numbering plan. Welch initiated collections of reimbursement of funds. They provided appropriate accounting of the R&D and the NAMP funds and reporting billing and collections into a monthly report. They maintain compliance with the red light rule consistent with FCC 04-72. They were subject to routine audits and provided all necessary information for successful on-time completion of those audits. And Welch managed the multiple banking accounts associated with the collections and distributions of funds associated with the NAMP, the R&D, including credit card payment functionality. That credit card payment functionality is relatively new and has, I think the industry's been benefited with that in order to expedite payments to avoid red light rule conflicts. Welch prepared the detailed operational review as well, and Welch posts those monthly reports to the website that you see at the bottom there. So if we felt it was not as knowable that was being done, so I wanted to make sure folks were aware that there is a location to find those reports. With that, I can turn it over to Chairwoman Charles for our vote.
Before we ask for a motion, Phil, I would love to ask the room if anyone has any questions or questions for the report or the recommendation.
One over here.
David?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Phil. That's fine, that's fine. Our understanding is that the delivery of the combined NAS-PAS system has been, frankly, wildly delayed, almost to the tune of 4 years, though others suggested an ability to deliver in under half a year when this originally went out to bid. I have a multi-part question for you. Have there been any further discussions around the proposed timeline by Somos regarding the new combined NAS-PAS system? And at what point will a decision be made that Somos has failed to deliver on their commitment and reevaluate whether they should continue to be responsible for the development of this system and whether a new bid should be issued? Will that decision be made by NAWG? And if not, who exactly will be responsible for that decision? And please don't just say the FCC.
Dang it. Firstly, I believe this was a question that came up in one of our previous Nancy meetings, and there was a response that was documented and provided. I'm not sure what the date was. It was, I think, late last year. So I'd refer to that as far as kind of the reasoning why there is a 4-year span for the development of that system. And then I think your other question is who and what are the criteria that determines failure to perform, is kind of what I'm getting. And that would be based on the contract terms that the FCC has with Somos and their contract with Somos, So the NAOWG is basically an oversight of the contract and the portions of the contract that we've been made aware of, most specifically the technical requirements documents and those kinds of performance items that were specified within that document and that were developed by the NAOWG. And so what I don't know is what criteria needs to be met in order to determine failure or success of that at this point, so.
And that's not within the charge or purview of the NAOWG.
Correct, that is correct. We would not be making that decision.
And then is that contract available for review by members of the NANCI or anyone else?
I am not sure. I think we've gone through with the vendor, with Somos, putting together the requirements that we review on a monthly basis. And that aligns with what's in the contract. However, the specifics of that contract are not readily available to the NAOWG, but I believe they can become available under other circumstances.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, if the discussion is complete, I will now open the meeting for a vote to approve this report. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve? Please mention your name before you move.
Somebody?
Rich Shockey, I motion to approve.
Great, thank you, Rick Shockey. And anyone to a second, and please mention your name.
This is Rosemary Lice with T-Mobile. I second the motion.
Great, thank you, Rosemary Lice, for the second. With that second, we'll submit it to the council for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Was that a nay or an ah? Okay. It passes. The NANCI approves this report and recommendation of the NAOWG. Thank you for the working group members for your hard work on this issue. Next, we will hear a report from the billing and collection agent, followed by a report and recommendation from the NAOWG on the North American Numbering Plan fund size projections and contribution factor. Presenting for Welch LLP is Heather Bambro and Phil Lindsay. Will present again for the NAOWG. Following the presentations, the council will vote on the report and recommendation. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you. I'm here today to present to you the annual NEAP budget and the contribution factor. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So we are setting out, in this document, we have set out both comparative for last year and this year's costs to operate the NEAP fund. The first line is the NEAP and pooling administration. The cost for this is $6.9 million. It is provided based on the current contract that's in place. It's a 5-year contract that expires in November of 2025. So the costs have been provided as per that amount. Canada and some of the international member countries also contribute to the NEAP administration. They will be contributing $179,641. So the net amount for the NEAP administration that will need to be borne by the U.S. carriers is $6,800,000. We have determined that 43% of the, since the contract was combined, the pooling and the numbering administration was combined into one contract, we've determined that 43%, with the help of Somos, relates to NEAP activities. The international participants only contribute to the NEAP activities because they do their own some of their own work within their own countries, such as CO code. Following that is the carrier audits of $200,000. we've provided $200,000 as directed by the FCC and which is required under FCC 00-42 under the Code of Regulations 52.15 sub K. The next line is the billing collection agent, which is ourselves, and the cost is $400,500. The billing collection contract was extended for 1 year, which was initially going to expire April 30th of 2023. It's been extended for 1 year to April 2024. As recently amended to extend the contract by 1 year to include a special refunds project. For the period from May 2024 to September 2024, the costs have just been allowed for at an estimated based on the final year of the contract. The next line is the annual operations audit. It's an independent audit that is required to be done on the fund itself. It is estimated to be at a cost of $56,000. This cost is based on an estimate of prior year's billings by Ernst & Young. Next line is bank charges. It's estimated to be at $40,000. Again, this estimate is based on prior year's history. The bad debts, so this is for carriers who do not pay their fees, and we end up not being able to collect them. We've estimated to be at $30,000 for this year. Again, this is based on prior year's histories. Next line is the interest income. Again, with interest rates having gone up and having a slightly higher balance in our bank account, we've estimated that the interest on the funds will be about $70,000 and it will be used to offset some of the costs. As well, we do collect a late filing fee of $100 for any filer who files their Form 499 late, which would be after April 30th. And we've estimated it at $40,000. Again, to offset future costs. And again, that number is based on our trending history. So this gives us total projected cost to be borne by the U.S. carriers of $7,500,403. There's a contingency allowance of $1 million to offset anything that should come up that is over and above the costs that are allowed for in the budget, such as any sort of contract renegotiations, change orders, anything that may change the scope of the work mandated by the FCC. Basically unforeseen costs. So right now, the estimated cost for the fund to be borne by U.S. carriers is $8,500,403. The anticipated surplus at September 30th of this year, per the April report, NAOWG report, is $234,498. It's going to be used to offset again these costs, further reducing the amount to be borne by the carriers. So if we can just move the screen up a little bit, just the slide if possible. If not, the net U.S. carrier amount is to be borne is $8,265,905. The projected revenue base is $78,970,000. It has dropped again another 6% over prior years. It's continuing to fall. So the projected contribution factor for this year would be 0.001047. So it is higher than the prior year. The main reason for the increase is the lower revenue base and a lower anticipated surplus to be used against the funds. Any questions?
Okay, if there's no questions, thank you, Heather. I will pass it over to Chairwoman Charles for our, oh, I'm sorry. I got one more thing to do. Sorry, apologize. All right, I'm not done yet. We gotta make a recommendation here. So On the next slide, we've got our NAOWG recommendations. This is for the NAMP fund budget and contribution factor that Heather just went over. And on the next slide, we have a high-level summary of what Heather just went over, kind of cutting to the chase of what the amounts are based on the funding requirement and then the associated contribution factor. And so this is the NAOWG's recommendation. I won't go into those numbers in detail because Heather just went over those. So with that, I can provide or offer it up for any questions associated with the recommendation. Okay, hearing none. Just for your reference, per what Heather just mentioned on the next slide, there is some history associated with the revenue-based, and this is kind of an interesting slide around kind of the overall revenue base that the contribution factor is based on, demonstrating kind of the reduction in revenues. So you can, it's there for your reading pleasure. There are some interesting facts that you can glean off of that, which I think is really interesting associated with our industry. So please help yourself to reviewing that. And if there are no questions, I think we can go actually to the next slide and we can kind of conclude before we move to the vote. Just want to extend my thanks to all the NAOWG members. We've got them all listed here, so thank you all so much for your contributions into all the work that we do, both from a performance review, our monthly meetings. We cover a lot of ground in those meetings, and just appreciate everybody's contribution into that. And then on the next slide, we have our future meetings for the remainder of this year. We anticipate being rechartered, so we have extended those dates through the end of December. So with that, and then we've got contact information for myself and my co-chairs, Laura Walt and Karen Rippenkroger. So if you have any questions after the meeting, feel free to reach out to any of us with those questions. And then if there are no additional questions, I will pass it over to Chairwoman Charles for the vote.
So let's thank both Heather and Phil for their presentations. Thank you so much for the presentations this afternoon. And at the risk of being redundant, do any members have any questions about the report or the recommendations? Okay, perfect. Seeing none, so it looks like the discussion is complete. I will now open the meeting for a vote to approve this report and recommendation. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve? Please, someone.
Somebody.
This is Bridget Alexander White. I motion to approve.
Thank you.
Who was that?
Bridget.
And this is
Bridget,
Rich
thank you,
Shockey,
Bridget.
I'll second that.
And thank you, Rick. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
The Nancy approves this report and recommendation of the NAOWG. Thank you to the working group members for your work on this issue. We will now move on to the public participation. Do we have any comments from the members of the public in the room?
Do we have anybody in the room? Anybody in the room? Nope, we do not.
Okay. Okay. We also enable public participation through comments filed in the docket and through a dedicated email address. First, we'll turn to the comments file in the docket.
We do not have any comments filed in the docket.
Thank you. A public notice for this meeting released on June 1st, 2023, asks members of the public to file any comments in the Commission's electronic comment filing system in WC docket number 23-1.
We do not have any
Thank you very much, Christy. Thank you. And lastly, do any Nancy members have other business that they would wish to address this afternoon? Seeing none, Christy, anything from the commission you'd like to add?
Yeah, actually, we have a few announcements today. So first, we want to thank everyone who is participating in the meeting, both online, but also for coming in person to our first hybrid meeting of the Nancy in a long time. So we appreciate everyone's participation. And I'd like to thank everyone on the staff who supported us and helped us pull together this meeting today and helped us troubleshoot as well. And that includes the commission meeting room staff. So we really want to thank everybody who participated in that. Next, we've received a lot of questions about rechartering and the status of that. We expect the new charter to begin in September. For those of you who have applied for membership under the new charter, you will be hearing from us soon. The process takes a little bit of time, but you will be hearing from us before too long on that. As you know, the application deadline for the working groups just recently passed. It will take a little longer to get through all of those applications, but we're hoping to have the working group membership finalized before the charter begins in September. So if members or any applicants have any questions about that process, you should feel free to reach out to Rhonda or to me, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the process and the timing. We will, under the new charter, have 4 working groups. You are familiar with the work of the NAOWG and the CATA working group, but we'll also have 2 new working groups, and we wanted to tell you a little bit about those. The first is the toll-free future utilization of numbers working group, and that working group will consider possible next steps, including numbering assignment, auction, and valuation issues for utilization of the remaining 833 auction numbers and unavailable 800 numbers. The Internet of Things Numbering Usage Working Group will be investigating why and how Internet of Things devices use North American Numbering Plan numbering resources, and the working group will consider whether there may be preferable alternatives to using NAMP numbering resources for IoT device needs. Finally, I wanted to let you know about the next meeting. The next meeting of the Nancy has not yet been scheduled, but we are anticipating that it will be in October. So we will provide more information for members on that when it is available. So after the meeting today, the room will remain open for members and presenters, so please feel free to stay, say hello to members and staff now that we're back in person, meeting new people, and also to say hello to some people that you may not have seen for a while. So you're welcome to stay in the room for a little longer, and we look forward to having a chance to chat and say hellos, and also to continue working with you. So thank you very much. As always, if you have questions for the Nancy staff, you know how to reach out to us, and please do not hesitate. So with that, thank you, Chairwoman Charles.
Thank you, Christy. Vice Chairwoman Alexander White, anything that you'd like to add this afternoon, please?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd just like to say thank you to my fellow Nancy members for all their hard work under the latest Nancy Charter. I can honestly say it's a pleasure to serve with such knowledgeable people, and I hope to serve with you all again under the new charter. Thank you all very much, and have a great summer.
Thanks, Bridget. If there is nothing else, I thank you all for your time. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.